The pressure, since this is like बहुत पुराना काम, जब I was not Kainat Hameed Khan, the spoken word artist or something, so nobody knew me and it was all in my personal journal. So of course there was no pressure at that point, but now when it's out there, I'm a little scared, to be very honest, because I got a call from Karachi some time back, like a few weeks back, and the person said, "Oh, I found your number from this and that person. I've read your book, and I liked how fearlessly you wrote about everything." I was like, and that's it. And I was like, everything? Can you just at least, elaborate it for me? Like, what? And where was I fearless? And I was like, okay, should I have been afraid of something? So that has given me like alarm. And now I'm looking back at the book and,
Okay, that
rethinking
now the
about
time is
everything.
gone, so you cannot do
Yeah, it's
anything
out
about
there.
it. बट कायनात, जब आप एज राइटर लिखती हैं, क्या आप भी एक साइंटिस्ट बन जाती हैं या आप पे इल्हाम होता है?
अब तो different case है. This was way before I was a student of literature. This was when I was forced into subjects that I didn't like, and I was trying to stand up for myself. And we all have our own sort of stories and struggles and everything. So this is way back, way back, and I could not back then worry about. लेकिन ये मैं as it is इसीलिए करना. There was this point where my editor was like, "This word doesn't exist. It doesn't rhyme. It doesn't mean anything. Why the hell do you want it here?" And I was like, well, I coined it and it has to be there. And it means something, and we can explain it. So because there was no right word for that particular verb which I wanted to explain. So yeah.
So we can see Kainat originating as a brave woman not caring about whatever
Oh
exists.
yes, like probably a brave. That was when I was like not a brave, a silly teenage who didn't care about anything, and definitely she was ready to slaughter any language that comes in her way, which I had bluntly done, and yeah, that's that.
Acha, Kainat, I was just looking at some of your poems, like if I say Weaker Strengths or Not Your Type, Writer's Block, Absolute Love, Lip Gloss, You Owe Me a Tear. Har poem mein, in every poem, I see a story. The stories that you have written in your poems, in the words that you have jotted down, do you think that it is you, the speaker, and it is you and your stories, or do they include stories of other people? Can people relate to it? Would they be able to read their stories in it, or just Kainat's story?
So many things happen to a human being, of course, every day, and but that doesn't mean that you have to. At certain point, when you poets or writers or anyone, any human being can, we all have this ability of empathy, which is really beautiful. A man can suddenly feel the loss of a husband of an old widow woman who is kicked out of house by her children that she has raised all her life. Now this man is not a widow, old woman who had lost the husband and kicked out, by her children. But then again, he can feel it. So this empathy makes you live lives of so many people. Sometimes even that's not the story of the person you meet, but you just feel like it's their story. You just make it up in your head, and you don't have to write about it, because like, oh, that's, what if this is, and then it becomes your story for a certain time, and then you want to tell the world, or like even just to yourself, like I used to write in my journal in the beginning, and I would later on look at that and I would remember the exact same feeling. So I would relive the entire moment, even if that person would not be living it, but that would be the the vibes that I would get, and then I would write it. So yes, it can be, and then it is relatable, of course, because I said, just as I said, we all have these crises in our teens, and then in late teens we start figuring out कि शायद हमारे साथ भी कुछ problem है. And then in early 20s we're like, still in the confused phase, but like going through the transition already begins, and then it goes on for the rest of our lives. So I think it's relatable to most of the people, just because of the things that goes on in a young teenage, and then the person in early 20s. And I'm not just generalizing it for those people, but it can be relatable to anyone who has been through that transition.
That was supposed to be my next question. I would like you to elaborate it even more, Kainat. That you're mentioning your teens again and again. That I wrote the poems that are published here are mostly from the time of your teens. But a reader who doesn't know you, who doesn't know who you are and when did you write it whatsoever, can those readers who are not teenagers, who are not in their early 20s, any random human being, can he or she relate to your work irrespective of when and how did you write it?
Well, that they have to read and decide if it is relatable enough or
No, what
no.
do you think?
So I would think it's relatable to me, and I would think my friends, when they still read it, or the masses who have read it, or the people who have given me the feedback, they say that it's relatable, or it's, you know, something that they've felt at certain point of their life. Some very elderly people still say that they still feel it, or they feel about a certain topic or a certain thing. But again, that is for completely for the readers to decide.
Okay, moving on, and I think for me and for every young writer who is here or a budding writer, जिन जिन तक मतलब ये सवाल जा सकता है, हर इंसान, whoever claims to be a writer and a young writer, उनके deep inside it is mashallah, like this is as I told you a couple of days ago when we met on E, that this is a dream come true for a writer to publish a book. But this dream doesn't come true for everyone. This no, not every young writer gets to see this world. You, fortunately enough, you found the willpower to put your work before the world, and when you did that, you also came across this self-publishing platform called Dastan.
Yes.
So Kainat, please throw light in detail about your editorial process, कि क्या ups and downs होते हैं writer को, किन किन phases से गुजरना पड़ता है, because I know you had already sent your book last year for publishing and it came out this year in February when we were attending Lahore Literature Festival.
Yeah.
And on our session, and you just told me the morning कि it's finally coming to Pakistan and it was delayed because of the Pulwama attack. तो वो क्या जितने भी एक young unpublished unrecognized writer को जिन stages से गुजरना पड़ता है उनके बारे में बता.
So anybody who is writing or wants to write or wants to publish, there are publishers out there who can, you know, without putting any burden on you, they can give you a very fair margin. I did it through a self-publishing platform called Dastan, and then Dastan has like an online library of the books, and it has also like an offline one where you order the books. So my journey with Dastan has been great just because of the fact that, you know, the first interaction that I had with their co-founder was we just happened to meet in one of the meetings of a forum, Young Women Writers Forum. That's where I actually started, you know, getting into the literary communities and all. And I met Sidra Amin over there, and then she said, "Why don't you do the spoken word?" And I was like, "Okay, fine, that seems good because like my poetry is of that sort, and I have these narration abilities. Let's try it." And then I was doing the storytelling and all of that for a certain time, and then again I thought, like, you know, the incident happened and I was like, I should probably publish my book. And I talked to the founder, Umar, and he said, yeah, sure. And I was like, okay, so what do I have to do? He said, just submit the book. And I was like, is there any, you know, anything? And he said, no, submit the book, you know, submit the script and we'll get it published and everything. And that's a crowdfunding, so you get pre-orders for the book. तो जब एक certain point तक आपके orders आ जाते हैं, जब एक certain amount आ जाती है, then they publish the book for you in print. Otherwise, it's e-published, easily accessible. It took time because of कुछ editorial issues इस तरह से थे कि we could not coordinate. I was very busy. It was for 5 months. It was on my part, of course. मैं 5 महीनों के लिए बिल्कुल नहीं कर सक रही थी कुछ भी. And then after that we started, you know, editing and everything. तो वो हो गया और 21st April को मेरी बुक ई पब्लिश हुई थी 22nd April 2018. 21st April 2019 it actually got launched, like out in the market in print. So it actually took a year. But वो process slow मेरी वजह से हो गया था. Other than that, yes, it's a very, you know, it's a platform which would give you very fair margin, and you can just, all you have to do is create. I'm also like, I've done a couple of projects with them. Now I'm like a frequent member of, you know, their organization, kind of, you know, they invite me to these events and everything. And I see poets writing, and I see even the researchers and everybody, but it's not, I don't think Dastan is the only one. I'm sure there are others. So you can just figure out which one works for you, and there are out there. You just have to like look for the markets. India के हैं जो पाकिस्तान के writers को publish करते हैं, पाकिस्तान के अपने हैं जो करते हैं, तो you can just figure out for yourself. Royalty का और वो सारा आपको देखना पड़ता है, and that's easy.
Kainat, explicitly asking you this question that I'm sure must have been in every young writer's mind. Did you have to pay for it? Was money involved in it? Was there any financial setback? Was there any point where you were worried about money because you're young, and at that point of time you didn't have a job? Or if I'm correct me if I'm wrong, I guess you had already started a job but the pay wasn't okay. I'm not really
I
sure.
was a student back
Yeah,
then,
you were
and
a
I was
student, I guess.
freelancing, so yeah, I could not afford to do anything. But yes, the marketing bit, as I said, वो pre-orders पे काम करता है, तो you have to market your book, and then that requires money. वहाँ पे थोड़ा सा I was a little worried, but वो एक बार जब एक चीज़ हो जाती है, लोगों को पता लगना शुरू हो जाता है, then they start, trying to read new stuff. There are people who buy new books just to read कि आजकल के writers क्या पढ़ रहे हैं या क्या लिख रहे हैं. तो yes, but the marketing was a little frustrating.
Kainat, you are talking about Dastan and your story of publishing. Putting the question like, had there not been Dastan, would you still be able to publish your book?
Well, I honestly, as I said, there are other publishers out there. This might have taken a while, but of course, because I had already decided, I'd already decided that I have to put my word out. So yeah.
Acha, Kainat, in your discussion, you mentioned about slam poetry and being spoken word artist. And modern जो हमारे young writers हैं, हम देखते हैं social media पे slam poetry बहुत ज़्यादा चलती है. Last मतलब this Bollywood actor who had also written a slam poem और उसकी पूरी एक वीडियो सोशल मीडिया पे चली थी. एंड in the same way we do रूपी कौर के बहुत सारे आ जाते हैं. Do you think is slam poetry a valid form of poetry? First. Secondly, कि जब हम लोग when we enact our poems, which people call prosaic poems, being acted upon, how do the young generation see it and how does the critic see it, and what is your opinion about it?
So I'm first of all, I'm yet to meet a critic who is analyzing the slam poetry in the performing form. I haven't met someone. We have like some of the storytellers who are also like giving trainings to the trainers how to do the storytelling and everything, but I haven't ever spoken with them on the related topic. Having said that, I am no one to judge which form of the literature is valid or which is invalid. Because probably my job is to write what I feel like, and it always comes out in a form that someone somewhere doesn't agree with, and then it's also a form that someone somewhere endorses. So there are different opinions, and I try to opinions are different, they're personal, and as long as they're original, everybody's right. Even again, the slam poetry was recommended to me by somebody who was familiar with the concept. They said, "Aapki poems aisi hain ki jinko jab aap," and then you have the expressions. So why don't you just sing it out for us on the stage? And I remember Young Women Writers Forum ka hi pehla event tha where I performed for the first time, and that was a complete lyrical poem. But then I proper it wasn't like the Rupi Kaur style, but I performed it and people liked it.
Kainat, before moving on to the recitals, मैं एक ऑडियंस के लिए एक सवाल आपसे आखिरी पूछना चाहूँगी कि why should one read your book? जो हर ऑथर से टिपिकली पूछा जाता है, तो मैं भी टिपिकली आपसे सवाल पूछती हूँ, क्यों हम आपकी किताब रीड करें?
Well, read it and decide why should you not read it.
Exactly. Okay. Having said that, मैं कायनात की एक पोम जो कि मुझे बड़ी अपील करती है, मैं उसको आपके लिए पढ़ना चाहूँगी, just to give you a sneak peek of what she's written. I'll also give you a background of it. You must have seen a lot of brands in Pakistan जिनके जो models होते हैं, they're all size 0. And they work, बड़ा ही मेहनत करते हैं उस फिजिक पे जाने के लिए. अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह आई हैव नेचुरली गॉट इट. एंड व्हेन आई गो, अब वो एंडोर्स क्या करते हैं कि आप साइज 0 होंगी तो यू आर वेरी हॉट एंड यू आर एक्सेप्टेबल टू द सोसाइटी एंड ब्ला ब्ला ब्ला. लेकिन but I am size 0 and nobody called me, what. Okay, so when I go there and I buy the जो उनके कपड़े होते हैं, अब मॉडल उनकी साइज़ 0 है और मुझे मीडियम तो साइज़ आना नहीं है, स्मॉल भी नहीं आता. एक्स्ट्रा स्मॉल ले लें तो हाइट तो मेरी नॉर्मल है लेकिन फिटिंग्स नहीं आती है. हमेशा मैं अल्टरेशन करती हूँ. तो इंडोर्स कुछ किया जाता है, फिर आपके लिए बनाया कुछ और जाता है. सोसाइटी आपको कुछ और कहती है. यू आर नॉट एक्सेप्टेबल बीइंग फैट, बट यू ऑल्सो नॉट ब्यूटिफुल इफ़ यू आर स्किनी. एंड यू आर टोल्ड, बचपन से मैंने बहुत रूड किस्म के अपने बारे में कमेंट सुने और अभी भी सुनती आ रही हूँ. मेरे एक आई हैड अ मेल फ्रेंड, मुझे कहते हैं नीलम अगर तुम मोटी होती ना यू वुड हैव बीन माई फर्स्ट क्रश. मैंने कहा शुक्र है मैं मोटी नहीं हूँ. सो going back, this poem is about body shaming and it is entitled as Not Your Type. Yes, I'm not what you would want. A bulky body, short skeleton. My hair so rough and brows are blunt. Lashes straight and eye color common. My lips are dark, dry and swollen. My hands so thin, nails rotten. An acne-prone skin, moreover I think. That is all. Kainat, would you like to have a short recital for the audience?
Well, after your recital, I don't think I can just do any better. This is a huge competition.
Thank you. So, with that note, we open the stage for questions.
If anyone, we will take 3 to 4 questions and then we will get to it. The questions should be brief.
Kainat is Pashto is your native language, so
आप introduce थोड़ा सा करा लें पहले.
my name is Ehsanullah and I am student of this microbiology.
Okay.
As Pashto is your native language, so I would like to ask a question about an entity, the remarkable life of Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan, so known as Servant of God, who had life for all people, who made a life better for all people, but shamelessly hasn't been mentioned in our history books. Instead, has been brutalized. Even foreign authors have different articles about his life. So what's the reason behind it? I mean that his struggle hasn't been mentioned in our history books.
Yes, okay, I get you. So very obvious reasons his struggle has not been mentioned in our history books. Why? Let me ask you guys another question before I answer that. How many of you know about Qissa Khwani massacre?
We have like 3 people.
3 people knowing.
जिनको know है.
In 1930, we all know in our textbooks, and that's true, that खुतबा अलाहाबाद के बाद सारे बड़े सगीर के मुसलमानों को पता लग गया कि बस अब तो हमने पाकिस्तान बनाना है, बिकॉज इकबाल इवन मैप्ड आउट. थोड़ा सा बैकलैश भी आया, ये भी हमारी हिस्ट्री बुक्स में, उर्दू वाली में नहीं लेकिन इंग्लिश वर्जन में ये लिखा होता है कि उस टाइम पे ऑब्जेक्शन हुई वेयर बाय ही चेंज द वर्ड स्टेट्स टू स्टेट, कि चलो ठीक है वो शुमाली और मतलब दोनों एक साथ, मशरक़ी और मगरबी कर दो, एक कर दो, इवन दो इकबाल हैड फोरसीन इट एज 2 डिफरेंट स्टेट्स way before any of that happened. लेकिन बैकलैश के बाद ही चेंज हिज स्टेटमेंट. ही सेड ओके एज यू विश बट एटलीस्ट यूनाइट एंड डू समथिंग अबाउट इट. 1930 के अंदर ही किस्सा ख्वानी एक बहुत फेमस मार्केट है पेशावर की. एनीबडी हु हैज़ रेड एनी हिस्ट्री बुक और टेक्स्ट बुक अबाउट पेशावर वुड नो. वहाँ पे इस किस्म का मिसैकर हुआ था कि वो लोग रोज़ में बैठे हुए थे, हमारे बिरादरी के, पश्तून बिरादरी के लोग, शहरी भी थे, बहुत सारे सिख वगैरह बैठे हुए थे, एंड दे वुड शूट डाउन लाइक द इंटायर रो. वो लाशों को अपने पीछे करके आगे दोबारा बैठ जाते थे ब्रिटिश आर्मी के सामने, एंड दे वर प्रोटेस्टिंग, पीसफुली प्रोटेस्टिंग एंड गेटिंग किल्ड. दैट हैड कॉज्ड एन अनरेस्ट. एंड देन उस टाइम पे उस दिन का 2-3 दिन के न्यूज़पेपर्स को भी बंद किया गया, बहुत कुछ हुआ था. बट हाउ मेनी ऑफ अस नो अबाउट इट, एंड इज इट देयर इन द टेक्स्ट बुक्स? Even if it's a version of the history, is it even there? Is there even a mention of it? 1930 में ही जहाँ पे ये एड्रेस हुआ वहाँ पे ये भी हुआ था. We don't talk about it at all.
कायनात, ब्रिंगिंग फॉरवर्ड व्हाटएवर यू जस्ट सेड, जो हमारा हम लोग पेशावर को एक बॉलीवुड का घर भी कहते हैं क्योंकि अब बहुत बड़े बड़े बॉलीवुड स्टार्स यहाँ से गए. जब हिस्ट्री की बात करते हैं तो वो if you happen, Rishi Kapoor की जो अम्मी है, I really don't remember her name, even she mentions it in one of her talks about Peshawar and how nostalgic that she feels. At that, now she has passed away, but at that time she was living in London and she was still missing Peshawar. और वो कहती हैं कि बादशाह खान हमारे पास आए और उन्होंने हमें कहा कि यू आर, वो हिंदू थे और उनसे कहा यू आर सेफ हियर एंड वी आर हियर टू प्रोटेक्ट यू. एंड शी ऑल्सो मैंशंस कि उनकी तरफ से पहला बुलेट आया और इस पूरे पीसफुल प्रोटेस्ट को इन्होंने एक खून खराबे में तब्दील कर दिया. सो मूविंग ऑन टू अनदर क्वेश्चन.
जैसे आपने कहा कि ऐसे मैसेजेस के बारे में हमारे राइटर्स लिखते नहीं हैं, क्योंकि ऐसे ही मतलब जैसे हमेशा कहा जाता है हिस्ट्री इज ऑलवेज रिटन बाय द विलर्स. तो हमारे पाकिस्तान की अगर हम बात करें तो हिस्ट्री को उस तरह से नहीं लिखा जाता. मैसेजेस वास्तव में होते हैं, अपनी बातें हम शायद से नहीं जानना चाहते, लेकिन क्यों पाकिस्तान के राइटर्स सिर्फ हमारे पाकिस्तान के पिरामिड करते हैं, अपनी क्रिटिकल थिंकिंग भी यूज करते हैं.
Very valid and beautiful question. So I also happen to, this is the poetry thing, this is another book, but I also happen to write on my blog, and वहाँ पे, और सिर्फ मैं नहीं हूँ, बहुत सारे contemporary writers हैं, बहुत सारे कंटेम्प्रेरी, मैं तो राइटर्स भी नहीं कहूँगी, बहुत सारे लोग हैं जो कि फेसबुक पे, ट्विटर के माइक्रो ब्लॉगिंग पे अपने व्यूज़ का इजहार कर रहे हैं. एंड दे आर ऑल्सो लेटिंग द इन्फॉर्मेशन आउट एंड राइटिंग द हिस्ट्री फॉर अस. बट इट्स वेरी अनफॉर्चुनेट कि हम सोशल मीडिया को किसी प्रिंट जगह पे कंपाइल नहीं कर सकते, या शायद कर सकते हैं, अभी तक किया नहीं है. बट हैविंग सेड दैट, हम क्यों नहीं करते? क्योंकि वो बहुत ब्लंट हो जाता है एंड इट क्रिएट्स ट्रबल फॉर द राइटर. शायद सटायर एक वाहिद ऐसा तरीका है जिसमें आप बात कर भी सकते हैं. अगर आप में से किसी ने भी चौसर को थोड़ा सा स्टडी किया हो, या आज भी जाके आप चौसर को देखें, ही वाज वेरी ओल्ड इंग्लिश पोइट. उसने उस टाइम पे बरतानिया में ब्लैक डेथ था, लोग मर रहे थे, सब कुछ था. उसने इन चीज़ों के बारे में बात ही नहीं की. उसने बात की अमीरों के बारे में, उसने बात की लोग कैसे अपने टाइम पास में ज़ियारतों पे जाते थे, उनके अंग्रेज़ अपने सेंट्स की ज़ियारतों पे. एंड द तबका दैट डिडंट वरी अबाउट कि गरीब मर रहा है, इसने सिर्फ उनकी बात की. बट जब आप वो पढ़ते हो, और उस टाइम के लोगों ने भी जब पढ़ा, तो दे वर लाइक यस, this is exactly what's happening in the world of the rich people and the people of the power. They don't even care about us. तो उस बुक ने बहुत सटली लोगों को मुनज़्ज़म करना शुरू किया. बट नॉट दैट ही टॉक्ड अबाउट इट, ही डिडंट इवन से कि लोग मर रहे हैं और आप इधर ये कर रहे हैं. ही जस्ट वेरी सटली टॉक्ड अबाउट अमीर कितना लैविशली रह रहे हैं, एंड दैट्स इट. और फिर उससे लोगों में तो तरीका होना चाहिए, और आपको सर्टन तरीक़ों को चूज़ करना पड़ता है. जहाँ तक हिस्ट्री की बात है, सोर्सेज पढ़े हैं आप लोग, उन सोर्सेज को यूनाइट करके एक रिपोर्ट या एक और बुक तश्कील कर सकते हो. बट आपकी क्रेडिबिलिटी को क्वेश्चन किया जाता है, आपकी, और नॉट एज अ राइटर, एज अ पर्सन आपकी क्रेडिबिलिटी को क्वेश्चन किया जाता है. ये एजेंट, वो एजेंट, यहाँ पे, तो द थिंग्स दैट हैपन, उसकी वजह से बहुत ट्रबल होती है राइटर्स को, और शायद इस वजह से राइटर्स हिचकिचाते हैं इन चीज़ों पे बात करने से.
Okay, we're almost done. We have another session. Thank you very much.